Hi everyone, my name is Nguyen, also known as Twaydabae. I am a chef and co-owner of a Vietnamese restaurant in West Hollywood called Didi. I am an author of a cookbook called Đi Ăn. I have my own fish sauce out with Red Boat Fish Sauce. But besides all of that, I am the firstborn daughter to immigrant parents. I'm an immigrant myself, and I'm also a big sister, a chị hai. I was born in Vũng Tàu, Vietnam. So my first language is Vietnamese. I came over to America when I was 8 years old. I knew 0 ounce of English, and I learned English through watching a lot of television. And the two shows I remember watching the most was SpongeBob SquarePants and Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations. I would learn from repeating what and how they would say certain words, so I would learn how to pronounce it. And that's how I learned English. And throughout my whole high school career, I thought that I was going to be in the medical field because that's what my parents wanted me to do. But when senior year came around and everybody was submitting their college applications, I just had this feeling inside of me that I was like, this is not for me. I did not have passion for it. I felt like I was going to waste my parents' money and also waste my time. And so I had to ask myself, like, what is it that you actually want to do? And it's so crazy that like at 18 years old, we feel pressure to make this really drastic life decision to pick like the right path for us, right? But yeah, I asked myself, like, what is it that you actually want to do? And my answer to that question was, it's kind of silly now that I'm looking back at it, but at the time, it was a genuine, honest answer. And the answer was, I like to eat. I enjoyed food a lot. Food was very fascinating to me. My mom is a great cook. Like, I grew up eating really, really good food. And so, but she never taught me how to cook because she was one of those moms that hated people in her kitchen. So I never learned how to cook. And I was like, you like food, you know what good food tastes like, but you don't know how to cook. Maybe we should go to culinary school. But I didn't even know where to start. So one day in high school, there was a rep from the Arts Institute that came in and talked about the culinary program that they had at the school. And so I was like, whoa, this is a sign. Let me just sign up. Let me just submit my application and see what happens. So I submitted my application and I got accepted. And then I had to tell my parents, like, hey, about nursing school, I don't think I want to go, and I want to go to culinary school instead. And they were just so blindsided by it, and they were very upset by it, and they ended up telling me, like, okay, if this is really something that you want to do with your life, you have to support yourself. And so that's what I did. I, at 18 years old, moved from Oxnard, California to Los Angeles by myself. I had no friends, I had no family, I knew nobody out there. But the one thing that I had was my car. And I lived in my car for a while because I barely had enough money to even take care of myself. And so what I would do is I would go and shower at the 24-hour fitness that was in front of my school, and then around the corner, there was a Panda Express, and I would order like the double entree plate, and I would portion it out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because that's all I could afford. And then I would park down the street at the Ralph's to sleep, and that was like my daily routine of how I was like surviving in LA by myself. And then I eventually got my footing down in LA. I started just doing random jobs. I picked up background work, like background acting, and then I did like modeling gigs here and there, and saved up enough money to be able to rent out a room in North Hollywood for like $300. And so I was like, oh, this is nice, this is cool. So then during culinary school, I had an opportunity to go stage at Spago. And for those of you here that are not from LA and are not familiar with what Spago is Wolfgang Puck's fine dining restaurant in Beverly Hills. And so I was like, this is it. This is my moment. This is how I am going to climb up that ladder, because that's how the traditional culinary world worked. You just had to work up the ladder and prove yourself. And so I was like, this is so exciting. My life is finally getting started. I picked the right career path. This is everything that I wanted and more. And then as soon as I got in, I realized, holy shit, this is not for me. It was so tough, so cruel, so toxic, and I hated every moment of it. I took a step back and I was like, you did this to yourself. You wanted to go to culinary school and you were so excited for this opportunity. And then now you're even more depressed than when you were living in your car. So what are you gonna do? So I took a step back. And I knew that I had to pivot, because just like the moment where I realized that nursing school wasn't for me, the traditional path of the culinary world wasn't for me either. But I still really wanted to involve my life in food. And since I didn't have obligations anymore, I had all the time in the world, I started making content. And when I started making content, I would make food vlogs and mukbangs. Every single piece of content that I shared, it always revolved around food, because I love to connect with people just through food, talking about it, sharing our different experiences with it, what we like, what we don't like. And then I realized that I actually enjoy being in front of the camera. It's like, it's really fun for me. And I didn't know where this path was gonna take me. There was no end goal. It was just something that I enjoyed doing to, like get by and to just express myself. I had no idea where this was gonna go, but I kept at it, and then eventually I signed with my management team, Ray Hughes Management, and shout out to Ray Hughes. And he sat me down and he told me, okay, write a list of all of your short-term goals, your long-term goals, and your hopes and dreams, even if it seems unattainable and unachievable at this very moment. And so when I finished that list, I looked at it and I was like, nobody's ever asked me to do this before, and I've never done this. But looking at this list, it makes me feel so excited, because it kind of seems possible in some kind of way, even though like some of it was kind of like really crazy and out there, like having my own restaurant or like having my own cookbook. I looked at it and I was like, what if I really gave my 110% into this? Where would this get me? And so that's exactly what I did. I took it so seriously. I signed with my management team in February of 2020. And then March of 2020, we all know what happened. The pandemic and the shutdown. And I was like, I can't go to restaurants anymore, so I can't do my food vlogs, and I can't do my mukbangs. But what I can do is I can share cooking content. And that's exactly what I did. And that was the one thing that changed the trajectory of my career. This was the moment when I realized cooking content was a way for me to provide something of value to people that was watching me, whether it was learning a new recipe or, learning about Vietnamese culture or knife skills or just being entertained through food. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And so my first video that I shared was a fried rice video, and that one went crazy viral. And I was like, whoa, this is so insane. I never thought that this would happen. And then I made another video, and then that video did so well. And so I kept making videos after videos after videos, and the videos did really, really well. And me and my team, we were so excited, and we're like, okay, we have all these numbers, like let's do something with it. So we decided to plant some seeds. Okay, let's plant a seed to start the cookbook journey. So we reached out to a literary agent and was like, hey, this is my story. This is what I share on social media. These are how many people that are interested in this thing, right, that I'm doing. And we were so excited because we were like, how can they say no to that? But she came back and she was like, yeah, no. You're too ambitious right now. You're a little bit in over your head with this. Numbers on social media really doesn't mean anything to the book world. And so I was like, damn, okay. That was very humbling, but it was the very thing that I needed to just like guide me in the right direction of where I needed to go and what I needed to do next. And what I needed to do next was make enough noise so the traditional book world could be excited. But I didn't want to make noise just to make noise. I wanted to make noise, but with a message. And so that moment I decided I needed to have a clear message of what my content was going to be. And so my message has always been about how unapologetic and how proud I am of the food that I grew up eating, the food from my culture. And every single decision that I have ever made for myself in my career has always been based off of, is this going to push the culture forward in a positive and in a positive way? And so that's how I basically moved throughout my whole career. But I realized I needed to do more than just make cooking content on social media. I wanted to do something in person because it is so impactful when you get that face-to-face, when you start to meet different people. Because I mean, like if this conference was over Zoom, like it would not be as impactful as it is in real life. So I told my team, I want to cook for people in real life because I want to create a community where people felt like this is where they belong. And I wanted people to just try my food in real life because up until that point, people just have seen me just cook online. But like, is your food actually good? So I wanted to just like share that part of me and like just prove myself and let people in on the journey. And so the first pop-up that I hosted, we've never done this before, and so our measure of success, we were like, okay, the goal is to sell 50 tickets. For one night, for your first ever pop-up, I'm like, 50 tickets, I'm gonna walk away very happy. I will count that as a success. We opened up the tickets, and we sold 350. I was blown away by just the amount of support because I couldn't believe it. But we had to call up the restaurant and was like, hey, how many people can you fit in your restaurant for one night? And they're like, 150. And so we're like, we need your restaurant for 2 nights. And they were so kind to let me use the restaurants for 2 nights. And that pop-up really changed the way that I looked at the scale of how big I wanted this to be and how much noise I wanted to make. I was addicted to just creating so then I can just connect with people, genuinely connect with people through the food and through the content and through the pop-ups. And so hang on to your seats because I'm gonna walk you through all of the pop-ups that I've ever done, the journey of all the pop-ups. So this was the first pop-up. It was called the Cheat High pop-up. It was like a 7-course sit-down dinner. Very, very ambitious for my first pop-up. The next one is actually a collaboration with a friend that I met in culinary school. Her name is Chef Margot, and she has a sushi restaurant in Silver Lake called I Ate Sushi, and we made a Vietnamese-inspired sushi box. The next one I did was at Family Style Fest with my friend Jing, the founder and owner of Fly by Jing. And then I went to Complex Con. I had a collab with Sesame Dinette. They're a Vietnamese restaurant in Long Beach. And then I went all the way to New York City and celebrated Lunar New Year with Chef Jimmy over at Madame Vo. Also, that was the first time I saw snow, and that was like life-changing. It was like so magical for like 2 seconds, and then I hated it. It was so cold. And then I made a sandwich with the team over at Open Market in Koreatown. It's called the Mama Dough sandwich because we used my mom's Nam recipe to make the sandwich, and it's so good. I collabed with Chef Alvin Kailan over at Amboy to make the best shaking beef burger ever. I still think about this burger, and I should probably have it on the menu at DD. The next one, this one is actually one of my favorites because this one wasn't a collab with anybody. It was just my recipe. It was just me and my team executing this. It was a 5-course sit-down dinner. I think the ticket price was around like 150 to 180, and we sold out. So that was really, really, really crazy because I was like, wow, you guys would like actually pay for this? This is so cool. I couldn't believe it. And then I had a collab with Sweetfin, and I made a vermicelli poke bowl that ran from July through September of 2022, and it was available at all of their SoCal locations. I went to Tenderfest and made a tamarind chicken tender, did Family Style Fest again, and then I collaborated with the legendary Chef Roy Choi to make a tikka taco. And that was, I was like, wow, when I was like working in the kitchen with him, I was like, I kept looking over, I was like, I can't believe I'm in the kitchen with you. And he's one of the most supportive, sweetest guy ever. Truly, like, love him. And so through all of this, I made just enough noise to get the media excited, and that was what got me, like just organically written up. And this was what made the traditional book world really, really excited. And so I had a book publisher, Simon Element, they're a imprint of Simon & Schuster, come to me and was like, we want to do a book with you. We've seen everything that you've done. We're big fans. We love your message. We love your story. Let's do something. But on my end, I was like caught up in this world of pop-ups. I just wanted to, what's next? When's the next pop-up? I wanted to do more pop-ups. And so I told them, I'm like, I want to do it, but I don't have the time to submit a cookbook proposal. A cookbook proposal is basically a proposal of like how the book is gonna be like, what is gonna be included in the book, what's the message of the book. I just didn't have time to like really sit down and like put my heart and soul into it. And so I was honest with them and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And they came to me and they were like, say less. You don't need a cookbook proposal. And so I got a book deal with no cookbook, with no proposal. And that was so incredible to me because the amount of support that I'm getting is just wild. I can't even imagine that in my wildest dreams. So through all of the pop-ups, while writing this cookbook, I made enough noise for production companies to start being interested in me. And so they started reaching out, being like, hey, are you ever interested in hosting your own show, like with a production crew and everything? And I was like, it sounds fun, but I was a little hesitant because it's just been me, my phone, and my lights. It's just me, myself, and I just doing this whole thing, right? I've never had a crew of 15, 20 people looking back at me, and I'm not professionally trained to be on camera, right? And so I was a little hesitant, but I told myself, the opportunity would not present itself to you if you're not ready for it. And I want to say that one more time because I feel like a lot of us here needs to hear that. The opportunity will not present itself to you if you are not ready for it. So every single opportunity that's ever been given to me, even if I didn't feel like I was ready for it, I still took it and I ran with it because I knew that that would be just another stepping stone closer to what I want to achieve in my life. And so I said yes. And that ended up with me working with 3 production companies. The first one was with People Magazine. I did their first ever food series called Celeb Eats. And then I worked on another show called Kitchen Etc. with Verizon. And then I worked with BuzzFeed Tasty to host their show Making It Big. So through the madness of the pop-ups, through the shows, while writing a cookbook, the H. Wood Group came to me. Let me backtrack a little bit. The H. Wood Group are the owners of the first restaurant that I did my first pop-up at. They came to me and they were like, hey, we've been loving everything that you're doing. We really love your story. We want to support you. And we don't have an Asian concept in our portfolio. So let's work together. Let's do something together. And so we signed in October of 2022, and in July of 2023, DD opened. I can't believe it's almost been a year that DD has been open. It's been a really, really crazy journey. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of lessons, but I'm really excited to see what's next for us because, this is only the beginning. So right now, what I want to share with you is that my cookbook is ready, yay! So my cookbook is called Diang, and it will be launching later on this year on September 17th, but pre-orders are available now. And I want to take this moment to highlight how important pre-orders are, because as an author, you definitely want the book that you're working on, that you put your heart and soul into, to make it onto the bestsellers list. And in order to do that, they look at the sales from the first week of launch. And so the pre-orders that I've gathered through until the launch counts towards the first week of sales as well. So it would mean so much to me if you guys would scan the QR code and pre-order my cookbook, or in your own time, you can go on my Instagram. I have a link in my bio that you can also pre-order my cookbook at as well. So throughout my whole journey, ever since I listened to that gut feeling of going to culinary school and, deciding that the traditional culinary world wasn't for me and carved my own path of what I really, truly wanted to do, taking those risks and making those decisions, I would have never thought that it would take me to the height that I am at right now, because there were times that it really felt unstable and unpredictable because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you are crazy. But am I really crazy? Or am I just putting 110 into something that I truly do believe in, and that's believing in myself? So I want to leave you guys with this. As somebody that opened up a restaurant at the age of 25, has her own cookbook, has her own fish sauce, I want you guys to really take it in, because I've taken it in, and I'm just blown away by the opportunities that I've been given. But it's all because I truly believed in myself, and I had a team that really, truly believed in me and pushed me to my limits. And so if you really have something to believe in, like yourself, keep reminding yourself the opportunity would not present itself to you if you are not ready for it. Take it and run with it. Listen to your instinct, because that is your superpower. That's it for me. Thank you.